Now down here we come across a shrub, small tree, which is coming into its own now in January. It doesn't make a great impact, but my goodness, like many flowers in the winter, it has a gorgeous sweet scent. And like so many of these winter flowers, it's a wafter, i.e. the scent sort of wafts about, and I suppose it depends on the air currents. This is Wintersweet, very aptly named. The flowers are a very pale straw yellow, but the buds are quite a good yellow, as you can see. Sometimes it's grown on a wall, and as I've said before, I'm not too sure about that because, quite honestly, for 11 months of the year it's a pretty dull looking thing. And as long as you've got it somewhere, and I've got it along a path here that you walk under, you get the benefit of the scent, and then when it's done its stuff, it's all over and can retire into the back of the shrubbery to await another year. Here's a winter flowering shrub that says to me, delicate. It's got its little paired flowers, which would indicate that it is a honeysuckle, Lonicera. This is a Chinese shrubby honeysuckle collected by Roy Lancaster some years back, and it's called Lonicera elisae. Some of these winter flowering honeysuckle shrubs, some of the ones which are quite commonly available, are quite scented. This one, however, isn't, but I think it's a lovely, delicate creature. The elisae to which the shrub's name refers was in fact a French botanist, Elisae de Villemorin, she lived to the age of 42, dying in 1866 or something like that. She married Louis de Villemorin, who was in fact another French botanist, horticulturalist, and a scion of the large dynasty of horticulturalists in France who in the 1770s had started a seed business for agriculture, developing a very productive form of wheat apparently and sugar beet, and the company exists even to this day, 250 years later. Although only really known as a herbarium specimen and named as from such a specimen in the 1840s after Elisae, it wasn't actually introduced into cultivation in Europe until Roy Lancaster introduced it in the 1987, and this is one of his introductions. I don't think Elisae was a delicate flower, quite frankly, unlike this shrub. Coming up the path, there's this lovely honey scent here, and it's coming from this shrub with its feathery flowers and a really powerful honey fragrance. You see how it's covered in flowers. This is Sarcococca confusa. And it's a very valuable shrub for its scent in January. In addition to these flowers, if we look down here, you can see masses of its black berries, which are very, very glossy. And here's my favorite winter flowering camellia. This is Camellia tunganica. Single white flowers and highly sweetly scented. Tremendous. I mean, this shrub is not very big, and yet it's been here for 12, 14 years. The flowers drop off very cleanly and don't go brown or anything like that. A truly lovely camellia flowering in January. This is Camellia tunganica, as I say, but it's also been called Pitardii alba. I can smell the somewhat honey smell standing here. I can see my earliest daffodils are out. Come out in January. The harbingers of spring. Behind them is a rather large suckering bush of Daphne bholua, Jacqueline Postill. An excellent evergreen form of this Himalayan species, and the scent is just wonderful. Unfortunately, we do bring it inside, but the flowers do have a propensity to fall off and litter the tabletop. Still, wouldn't be without it, and certainly not in the garden. Lovely scent. No tour of the garden in January would be complete without looking at those lovely fleshy flowers of Clematis europhylla, which I collected just outside Kangding in southwest China many years ago. They're like a white form of the orange peel Clematis, which people might be familiar with, but of course January flowering. You can see the Rather interesting orangey yellow arrangement inside of the stamens. No longer distracted by the flowers and leaves, one can appreciate the bare branches of things like this ornamental Himalayan birch, which has got a wonderful tracery effect against the blue sky. And the sun shining on the bark. Lovely. Planted in 1982. Here's another thing that benefits from no distracting leaves and other flowers and growth. It's this juniper, another of my collections from southwest China, is up in the side of this mountain slope with a whole load of others, none of them of any size. My memory of collecting this is actually food related, because we were told we were going to have a picnic as it was sort of lunchtime on the slopes of the mountain side, and our guide produced sausage meat inside a plastic sort of sausage container looking like a sausage. We chopped the end off and squeezed the meat out onto bread, which was claimed never to be stale. However, I think that claim is because the bread itself was produced stale, as far as I could see. With a few bits of chicken gizzard and a little jar of chilies completed the picture. So I do remember collecting this juniper. Coming along here, I see my little berberis is in flower very early. I have absolutely no idea what it is, which berberis. I collected this one in Sichuan, and it's got these teeny tiny sort of pale yellow and green flowers. Hardly what one might describe as decorative, quite frankly, and I am afraid don't know which berberis this is. There are an awful lot of them. Oh well, there we are. Why I collected it, I do not know, but it seemed like a good idea at the time, I suppose. It's a bit like a bear in the woods. This is Chaika on loan to us from our daughter, who's gone away. Looking out towards the estuary, the evening light is gorgeous at this time of year. And the resilience of the garden, I think, is personified by snowdrops. We've had a tremendous drought for 3 months. Then we've had a very cold spell for a week. And yet here they are, brave souls. Coming up